Muse? It's a scar. When I was a little baby, well, I don't know how old I was still crawling about on the floor. I found an electrical cord, the cord that was plugged into the television. The television was on. And thinking it was something that looked yummy, I chomped into it and I bit through it. I guess. So the story says. And it electrocuted me. Apparently, I was spasming on the floor with this thing in my mouth until my dad managed to run over, saw what was going on, and kicked the cord unplugged. And it melted my mouth. Ever since I was an adult, I hated it. I've hated my smile because it's crooked, doesn't look like a normal smile. And the people that love and care for me always say, "Oh, I love your smile. You have a beautiful smile." Doesn't change my opinion. I still hate it because of the way it looks and of some of the things it reminds me of. But that is only tangential to my point today that I want to talk with you about. So, when we artists create something, we become overwhelmingly attached to it. And we love it most of the time. And so it can be hard to take criticism of this thing that we've created. Be that criticism in the form of reviews, or even, say, when an editor or a sound engineer is going through what you've created. Now, recently, this happened to me with my editor. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form condemning my editor, because my editor is a wonderful person and she does a great job. And when she pointed something specific out in a manuscript that she's working with me on, my initial reaction was, "Whoa, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no." And then I took in a breath and I thought about it and I said, wait. And I sent a message to one of my beta readers who actually is impacted by this particular issue. Directly impacted. And I said, "What do you think of this?" And that beta reader said, "No, I didn't think that at all. But let me send this to someone I am associated with that would know for sure." After I sent that to her, and while she's sending that to her person, my thought is, I generally, almost without fail, listen to my editor. I'm one of those writers. And there must be something to what she said. Otherwise, she would not have said it, because she's a pretty no frills, no BS kind of editor. And so I realized that, okay, I can fix this problem. Because at first, when she made the comment, my initial thought was, hold on. In order to fix this, I'm pretty much going to have to completely rewrite this book. Now, for some writers, that's not a problem, because they tend to, in their initial writing, they tend to just barf out their words, knowing that they're going to do a lot of rewriting after the fact. I'm not that kind of writer. I am very picky am very careful during my first draft because I want to create a first draft that requires very little work after. Yes, of course, it's going to require work to hone the sentences and such, but the story generally doesn't need to be changed very much, if at all. So that was my initial reaction. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't rewrite an entire book to solve this one problem. And of course, after I've stepped back for a bit of time and took a breath and remembered the relationship I have with this editor, who I have the utmost respect for, I said, wait a second. I can make some additions into the manuscript to fix that problem without having to change fundamentally the characters or the storyline. Now, I have always been of that train of thought, that most of the time when an editor finds a problem, that the easiest fix is the best fix. It's a very Occam's razor approach. Because what happens when you start getting involved with complicated solutions, those complicated solutions tend to affect things after. It's very much in line with the way I write. It's very cause and effect. If I change after I've written the manuscript, if it comes back to me and there's a problem, if I make a big change to X, that big change is going to have a trickle down into the manuscript. And I'm going to have to be very careful to make sure that I catch all the after effects. That snowball is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as it rolls down the hill. And I'm going to have to do a lot of damage control. So instead, I tend to take the easy fix. That doesn't mean I take the... It's magic, right? That doesn't mean I take the easy way out. Sorry about that, Muse. There was a delivery at the door and I had to take it because it was something I was expecting. But anyway, where was I? I don't remember. Oh, yes. So when you make those grand changes to the manuscript, you got to be careful. So I know that it sounds like when I say I apply Occam's razor to this and I always use the easiest fix, that sounds like I'm taking the easy way out, and I'm not, because sometimes even the easiest fix can be complicated. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I apply the fix to the problem that's going to cause the least issue down the road. And I know that sounds kind of cheap, but it's not. The thing is that we spend a great deal of time working on these manuscripts. I pour my heart and soul into everything I write. And I try to get it right on the first try. I don't mean perfect, because it's a long road to publication. So when... I shouldn't say criticism, because an editor's not necessarily criticizing. An editor is making suggestions to help improve the work. But even when an editor makes those suggestions, every so often, it's really easy to take them personally. And so you always have to step back a moment before you react. Because I have known writers who have disagreed so profoundly with something that an editor has said that they fired the editor and moved on and found another editor. And then when the editor said the next editor said the same thing, they fired that editor and kept moving down the line until they found an editor that wouldn't say those things. At which point you have to ask, what's the purpose? You're not improving. You're just looking for a yes man or yes woman. At that point, just find a proofreader. At which I would say, if you are finishing a manuscript and you only are expecting a proofread, then you're probably doing it wrong. Now, I do have a rule that I stick with. I've said it to you before, Muse, but I'll say it again because I think it bears repeating. That when you send out a manuscript to beta readers, if one beta reader says there's a problem, that's an opinion. If 3 beta readers say there's a problem, then there's a problem. Now, I tend to forego that rule with my editor because my editor and I have worked together quite a bit, and she knows where I'm going with things. She knows she knows my voice, she knows the way I think, and most often she's pretty dead on. And as a writer, it is my job to be able to say that, to be able to say my editor is usually right on and I should follow her advice. It's one of those times, one of the many, many, many times as an artist where you have to let ego, you have to set aside your ego and be willing to accept that level of criticism. I've always felt very strongly about this, that ego is the enemy of art. That's not to say that we can't have egos, because we have to have an ego. You have to have an ego to be able to put your work out into the public eye, because at some point you're going to get torn apart by it. So without enough ego in the first place, you're never going to put any work out there. And if you're an actor, you're standing in front of people, especially in the realm of theater. You're standing in front of a live audience. And if you don't have the ego to stand in front of a live audience and perform, then what are you doing as an actor? The problem is when the ego gets in the way. The problem is when the ego becomes the driving force. The problem is when the ego prevents you from hearing the things that you need to hear. Because sometimes your editor, your beta readers, your critics, sometimes they're right. Now, I would say that most of the times my editor is right. A vast, profound majority of times my editor is right. And it is in my best interest to not allow my ego to prevent me from hearing what she has to say. So step back, take a breath, take a moment, take a nap, and then go back and say, okay, this is what my editor says. This is what my beta reader says. This is what my engineer says about the song I just recorded. Is it valid? And chances are it is valid. And then how can I apply Occam's razor to fix it? Sounds simple enough. And truth be told, it is. Well, that's all I got, Muse. But hey, you got an extra conversation this week, and that's a bonus. And sorry about the interruption, but life happens. Anyway, thanks for listening, Muse. It means a great deal to me that you do listen to me. Because, I'm an artist. I like to talk. Even though it shows my little boo-boo. Anyway, thank you, Muse. I hope you have a weekend that is as awesome as you. Right there.